31 to be a Premier League manager is crazy, albeit that you were the same age. There's a particular challenge for you because I guess you were managing some ex-teammates as well. But just in terms of the pure age thing, as a young coach, what's the biggest challenge going into a dressing room where people are possibly old, some older than you? How do you win them over? What do you think?
Yeah, look, I've often said that I think the key to all that, irrespective of your age or your kind of background, is that you have to be yourself, and that's harder when you're younger because do you really know yourself? And I think the worst thing you can do is go in there and try and make an impression by being somebody you're not, because over the course of time, people will see through it. Eventually your true self shows yourself. Now, I remember, like I said, when I was, his age, and I walked into the dressing room, like I said, guys who I'd played with, some close friends of mine. If I went in there and it was anything other than myself, they'd see through it straight away because they go, well, that's not you, So I just tried to be myself. And like I said, it's not easy because, at that age, do you really know yourself anyway? Because you don't know how you react to certain situations, and that's the challenging bit. But I'm sure for Fabian, it's a constant process now of him, reading the room and seeing what, how the players are reacting and interacting with him. Your staff are important because they're kind of your messengers as well. And the key to it, like I said, is just to somehow have a real self-awareness about who you are as a person, because that will be revealed at some point. How you are when you lose, how you are when things aren't going well, will all be revealed. And if what you've shown them first up is not really you, I think over the course of time you're going to lose them because they're going to say, well, we don't really believe what you're saying.
Just on the flip side of that, I don't know if you saw the pictures of Jurgen Klopp this week getting an award in Germany, but
you looked $1 million, didn't you?
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. It's like 5 months out of the job, you've got 10 years younger.
Funny that, Has he done a press conference since? No.
I'm paid to remind you, but you're, as well as Fabian being the youngest, you're now the oldest.
Yeah, thank you, mate.
But in all seriousness, do you ever, when you look at what, how good Jurgen's looking now, do you ever worry about what toll it might be taking on you? And as you get older, what do you have to do differently to maintain the physical and psychological oomph that you need to do the job?
Yeah, look, it is a challenge, and like I said, I think the role is becoming more difficult than when I first started, absolutely, just in terms of the demands, and not just in the Premier League, but just in general, the demands of, and the pressures and the sort of short-term nature of roles in general in football for managers. And look, I've my philosophy on all that is that I think just generally in life, stress is the biggest thing that will hamper those things you're talking about, your health, whether you're mental, physical health. And I've learned to get to a space where I try not to let that into my life, whatever circumstance, particularly in the professional world. And that becomes really discipline, like I said, in just making sure that what's important to you stays important to you. Don't get sort of drawn away from that by being dragged into areas that other people potentially want to take you in. That like I said, I've become really good at making sure, because I think if I'm, like I said, I'm, the oldest now, and if I ever get to the stage where I don't wake up in the morning and really look forward to the day, I know then, that's the time for me. There's no point in me hanging in there, because that's when I think you're doing it for the wrong reasons, and that's where that stress gets in. But it's just, again, I think a lot of it is just about understanding yourself as a person. And I know what's important to me in my life, and I know what's important to me in my professional life, and that's my anchor. And if I stay to that, hopefully I kind of keep everything else away.
Cool. Have you managed to keep your curiosity?
Oh, absolutely. I think I really think it's important, and the beauty of it takes you down different roads. So, I'm probably not as curious about the same things I was curious about 30 years ago. Back then it was like, football saturation. Now it's more about, life and other things. And I think it's important, for us in our roles where 99% of our work is, mental, not physical. How do you exercise your mind? And I think being curious is the best way to do that. So it takes you to some weird and wonderful places, mate, that you normally wouldn't expect. But Yeah, I still have that.
That's what I wanted to ask. Because there's no secrets in football, so it's just
Yeah.
so curious. Presumably you're...
Yeah, you look beyond it.
And trying to take
Yeah,
action on it. Where do you go to
oh mate, just life, mate. You know, it's like we, get our heads up from these things and just experience life. You know, you'd be amazed what you see. I learn things from my kids. I learn things from my wife. I learn things from my friends, from people I interact with. I read about. I listen to. Just life, and it's the best educator there is. Better than school, better than anything else is life. But you've got to be engaged in it, And like I said, it's not like I'm wandering the streets and talking to random strangers, but I think you have a conversation with someone, or you listen to someone, or you interact with someone, and you walk away. As I said, the best conversations you can have are the ones where you don't talk and just listen. And I'm a good listener.
When you look back, and you're just starting out as a manager, is it in some ways more fun in those days? Because the pressure's a bit different. Flip side being, if you were to be out of a job suddenly here, you'd probably walk into another one at some point. When you're a young manager starting out, there's no guarantee that might be your only chance. Yeah, but
I mean, I know what you're saying, but at the same time, I think for any manager, I was watching sort of Graham Potter on Monday night, and it doesn't matter sort of the payoff or you get another job. It's still not great to lose your job. That feeling is still there, I think people kind of think, he'll be all right, he'll get another job, or he's got a good payout. But you're still, you're driven by wanting to succeed, and you don't like when somebody said, well, no, sorry, you haven't, So I think that has to be there. I always said in this job, if you get comfortable, if job security is your main driver, you're pretty much gone. There's got to be that competitive edge. But I still find it fun. I still enjoy it. I still, there's, like I said, there's never a day I wake up and think, I've got to go in today. I've got a press conference at 11 o'clock. And, I think I just enjoy it. I feel blessed to do what I do. And but that doesn't mean that I'm comfortable with it and it's okay if I don't succeed here. No, I'm getting up. I want to succeed here. That drive is definitely there.
Ange, just on Kuliseki's move to the middle again, did he have to kind of convince you that was his best position? Because he was very vocal about it back in the last season. It was pretty clear that he wanted to play now. I may be wrong, but I seem to remember you saying you still thought he was a winger in sort of spring last year. So how did that process happen?
No, and when I said that, he was, because we didn't have any other options for ourselves out there, and a lot of these things are just an evolution. Again, you always got to temper, what players say and what they want. Ultimately, my role is to kind of try and figure out what the best is for the team and what the best is for the player. I always thought he could play inside, because when I looked at his, when I took the job, I kind of looked at every player's background. I could see a lot of his early background was playing in more central areas, and he kind of developed into this sort of wide player in different kinds of systems, and it kind of suited him when it was a transition, a counter-attacking team, because he has that capacity to run. But with the way we played, I could see, like I said, I think the thing I noticed with Decky after a while was that he felt constrained playing as a winger in our system. I still think in a different system he could play very, very well as a winger. I think he showed that. Because he just wanted to be involved all the time. And like I said, if you look at the way our wingers play, that's sometimes the discipline is in not being involved just by holding your position. So it was then a matter of, getting him inside, but then he still had to work with the parameters of, how our guys inside work. And he's thriving in it at the moment, and I think it's exciting, the potential he has to play in there.
Talking of your wingers, TIMO missed a couple of 1-1s against United, and there was that chance last night where he tried to go around the keeper and put it inside netting. How's his confidence? And I guess, do you kind of want more from him in front of goal?
Yeah, no, look, again, it was 14 days ago those questions were asked of Brennan, and it's like I said, I think I said at the time, it's where we're at in this world where we just think he's missed 2 chances, so he's hopeless. No, he's not hopeless. all footballers at this level are very, very good footballers. He's just had a bad day. If you write a bad article, it doesn't mean you're hopeless, yeah? You go, well, yeah, actually, I could have done better there, but I'll write the next one now. Like I said, last night, TIMO, his first action, I think he took on the winger, put in a brilliant cross for Will, and, you know, Will didn't quite get on the end of it. And if that goes in, he's had a great assist. Like you said, then he gets a chance of one-on-one. If he scores that, in the last 2 games, could have had a couple of goals, we'll be having a different conversation. But that's the fine lines. But in terms of his general play, I think the last 2 games have been really good for us. He's been taking on his plays, but getting in the right areas. Yes, goals help. We've seen that with Brennan for those kind of positions. But that doesn't mean he's not a good player, you know, and that's where we just, you know, it just bemuses me when not bemuses me, it's a wrong word, but I get really annoyed when, you know, they put everything into that moment to say that, oh, he's not a good player. Of course he's a good player. He's a fantastic player. Scoring goals would help him, would help us, yes, but we'll persevere with him because I still think he's contributing to the team. And as we've seen with Brennan, those kind of things, and, you know, Dom, like I said, 14 days ago, I was sitting here asking, you know, answering questions about Dom Solanke having not scoring, and Brennan, and now we're talking about him in the England team and Brennan scoring. So it's that fine balance. But, you know, I think his performance the last 2 games have been better for us in terms of doing his role as a winger in our team. Yes, a goal would be great for him, but not for me to say that, you know, I expect more from him in that position.
And just on Fabian again, there's a lot of chat about his high line after the Chelsea game. I'm guessing that's quite familiar.
I don't know, mate. So it's a question you'd need to ask him. Our high line against Chelsea is quite infamous. I don't think he took that as a carbon copy. But look, I think he has. When you look at Brighton, there's been a consistency about their football probably since Graham, maybe preceding Graham came in, and then obviously with Roberto, and you can see still that possession, but I think that has been a change in the way they defend. They're a lot more aggressive. I think that's sort of Fabian's imprint on it. So great challenge for us in terms of that.
Just on that, actually, to follow up, I think this club has tended to kind of lurch between styles in the past. You know, they went from Villas-Boas to Harry Redknapp, from Pochettino to Mourinho. Is part of what you're doing now, that this kind of club DNA that the chairman's talked about and Johan Lang's talked about? Brighton a good example of that, the kind of smooth transitions between projects to kind of managers that seem to play in a similar way.
Oh, look, I think it definitely it just makes real important decisions in a football club a lot easier in my opinion. If you know what you want in terms of, say, style of play, style of player, if you know this is what I want, well, there's plenty of evidence. You go look at a manager and you say, well, how have his teams played? Or you look at a player, how has he played, right? But if you don't, and you just say, well, he's a great manager, let's just bring him in, and you say, but I also want him to play attacking football, but you look and he hasn't done that, well, you're going to, doesn't mean you get it wrong, but it's more likely to be not a good fit. Same with players. So, and like I said, it's about what the club really identifies as important to them. So Brighton have identified, so I think that's why they've picked managers who've all done well for them, because they go, well, this is what we want, this is what we've got, and this guy has shown evidence he can do that. And like I said, it's the same with players. Like, unless you have a real clear idea of what kind of striker, what kind of winger, what kind of centre-back you want, just going for the best centre-back isn't necessarily going to work. Just going for the best manager is not going to work. And you know, it's a big part of sort of my decisions I've made, you know, in my career is about where I'm going. Do they know what they're getting? Because I'm not changing. It's not like they're going to put me in here and say, well, look, we want you to play counter-attack. That's not going to happen. So I just think but, you know, at the same time, you know, clubs, owners, you know, they get pressurised and saying, well, he's a great manager, he's available, go and get him. But, you know, is he going to be a good fit? Don't know. So I think it's the way to go, but others choose a different path.
Okay, we've only got a couple of minutes left. We'll go there and then.
Yeah, sorry,
John,
I've been rabbling on today.
Nice to meet you.
You too, bud.
A
comes to Richarlison as well, there's some pictures spotted him back on the, how close is he back to
Yeah, he's going well. Hopefully, post-international break, we're kind of hoping we'll get him sort of involved in team training during the international break. Sort of, we've always got a smaller group, integrate him, and then provided he gets through that, I reckon post-international break he should be okay.
And he established himself more towards the end of last season as well, and now he's got a brand new striker in the building as well. How do you kind of foresee the dynamic of Rishi and Dom kind of competing with one another after the...
Oh, mate, I'd love that. You know, it's exactly what we want. Yeah, that was the plan at the start of the year, and then you end up, you know, second game of the season, neither of them are available. So we've already seen we've got a hell of a lot of games, and we want to maintain and be competitive in all of them. And I can't wait to get Richie back available. He's, like I said, when he played for us last year and he was fit, he scored goals. You know, so for me to have the ability to have him and Dom as our strikers, and Richie can play wide as well, but especially in that central area, yeah, can't wait to get him back. But at the same time, you know, his recent history over the last probably 2-3 years is that he hasn't been able to sustain, you know, he's kind of broken down. So what we're trying to do this time around is try and do everything right with everything we do with him so that when he comes back, he stays back. I think that's the key with Richie, and yeah, hopefully that's the case.
John, finish for you, please.
Do you remember back in '96, anybody saying, 31, how's this going? How's it going to work with this?
Yeah, a lot of people, yeah, myself included, you know. And yeah, when you look back now, I mean, it's just, I think to myself, just even the person I was back then, how that. But having said that, I felt comfortable. I didn't feel uncomfortable. You know, I think for you know, whatever reason, I ignored my age, and I just felt, okay, this is what I want to do, and I feel comfortable standing up in front of people and sort of trying to lead and direct. So, but you know, when I think about, you know, the kind of person I was back then and just the general life experience I had, I thought, geez, you know, it's if I actually sat down and thought about it, it's pretty overwhelming. Because like I said, your first job is really important in football as a manager. You know, if you don't succeed there, you know, do you get a second chance if you don't have a really strong sort of playing pedigree behind you? You know, so, but I didn't think about it, and I think maybe that's, you know, the kind of innocence of youth in a managerial terms, not in life terms, where you just go, oh, I've got the opportunity, I'm going to go for it.
Did you learn anything from Fabian when he came to you? Did he get you doing the talking?
Yeah, no, like I said, I'm a pretty good listener. So when they ask me too many questions, I'm pretty good at asking questions back. I think he extracted more from the staff than he did from me. But yeah, I loved. Again, it was a timely reminder for me of his enthusiasm and the fact he was inquisitive. And, you know, you feed off that, and he walks out of the building, I go, okay, well, all right, he's got something out of us, what can we get now, you know, and what's our next, or my next sort of learning. So, yeah, you do. I enjoy that energy, I enjoy that enthusiasm. You also get a little bit of pride that somebody wants to come and do what you're doing, because if I wasn't doing anything, you know, decent, they wouldn't be coming and asking questions. So that makes you feel good as well. So, and you're never too old to feel nice about yourself. And so yeah.
Was it a surprise that his name popped out of the Brighton supercomputer?
No, I don't think so. I think when you kind of, because I'd followed his team pretty closely, because like I said, Jackson Irvine was there, we had another young Aussie boy, Connor Metcalf. I kind of followed the Aussies anyway, and there's, like I said, a plethora of games on a weekend. I'd pick and choose what I watch, but I'd followed him, and I kind of sensed that he'd be one of the ones that probably were a decent fit for kind of the way Brighton work.
Okay, thanks,
Thank
guys.
you. Thanks.
Good luck.
Thank you.
When was it? When did he come? When was it?
I think it was the second half. It would have been. Might have had a break, might have been January.
5 minutes.
Yeah.
Thanks.